Admiral Lütjens believed the Bismarck's mission to cripple British naval forces would be unstoppable. He was mistaken. On May 24, 1941, the British Royal Navy's HMS Hood was destroyed by the Bismarck, taking with it 1,415 souls, leaving just 3 survivors. This shocking demonstration of the Bismarck's firepower heightened British resolve instead of quelling it. When the Kriegsmarine celebrated Bismarck's impenetrability, an unexpected mechanical failure was about to turn the tables in this deadly maritime chess game. At 41,700 tons and moving at 30.1 knots, the Bismarck seemed a predator unmatched. Its 838 cm SKC, 34 naval guns were feared across the Atlantic. However, what Admiral Lütjens could not have foreseen was a malfunction during an air attack that would immobilize Bismarck's rudder, limiting its tactical mobility and leaving it exposed to avenging British forces, forming clouds of steel around her. This is the account of how fate, weighted on the wings of frail Swordfish planes from HMS Ark Royal, shifted Allies' despair to an unyielding pursuit cloaked in determination and retribution. On May 24, 1941, at 0530 hours, Admiral Günther Lütjens launched an offensive near the Denmark Strait. Admiral Lütjens intended to disrupt Allied shipping lines. His force comprised the battleship Bismarck, carrying a crew of over 2,200 along with heavy cruiser Prince Eugen. Opposite them, British Admiral Lancelot Holland commanded the battlecruiser HMS Hood and battleship HMS Prince of Wales, ordered to intercept in defense of vital supply routes. With its 838 cm SKC, 34 guns, Bismarck was poised to dominate engagements from a range of over 36,000 yards, marking British cities' supply lifelines. However, Bismarck's prowess was undermined by its dependency on maneuverability directed by its rudder, pivotal during engagements. British intelligence reports from Ultra, dated May 20, underestimated the strategic impact of Bismarck's mechanical capabilities. Layered Arctic fog in the region reduced visibility to 12 nautical miles, altering anticipated tactics as radar played a pivotal role. Aerial reconnaissance on May 23 captured the movements of Bismarck, yet, it failed to account for the vulnerability inherent in its rudder design. This inhospitable climate and intelligence gaps challenged both sides equally. What unfolded over the next 72 hours tested both the engineering and the resolve of the forces involved. At 0609 hours, HMS Hood and HMS Prince of Wales engaged the German ships. Hood fired first, its shells whistling through the Arctic cold. Each carried a payload of 1,720 pounds, attempting to penetrate Bismarck's deck armor. Captain Ernst Lindemann, aboard Bismarck, coordinated its formidable cannons which responded with salvos that met their mark. By 0613, Hood suffered critical hits. A shell penetrated her magazines. The eruption was cataclysmic, spilling flames and debris into the sea, resulting in 1,415 deaths. Meanwhile, Bismarck moved away, her rudders jammed a day after, while Swordfish bombers, carrying torpedoes each weighing over 1,600 pounds, launched from HMS Ark Royal. Onboard intelligence officer Lieutenant John Moffat intercepted a key signal at 0647 hours, directing attack vectors. The jammed rudder left Bismarck unable to maneuver effectively. German radio officer Hans Müller, stationed at communications, sent desperate updates. He was unaware the British had plotted the fatal blow. With winds up to 35 knots and visibility reduced to 800 meters, the climatic conditions aided the British approach. By 0710, one strategic torpedo hit disabled the rudder permanently, setting the stage for the final confrontation as British forces closed in. At 0745 hours on May 27, 1941, onboard HMS Ark Royal, Lieutenant Commander Eugene Esmond detected a deviation in Bismarck's course through reconnaissance reports. Esmond noted the battleship's speeding inconsistency, confirming issues in steerage. The investigation revealed a 12-degree starboard list, indicative of the rudder malfunction. Understanding this deviation's import, it was clear that Bismarck's inability to maintain a stable course nullified its tactical advantage. Typically, a battleship of such magnitude operated at full efficiency, at least 30 knots. Immediately, Rear Admiral Frederick Wake Walker was informed of the crisis. Upon receiving the report, British naval units initiated immediate pursuit protocols. HMS Rodney and HMS King George V adjusted their approach based on newly acquired intelligence, aiming to intercept Bismarck. Naval artillery focused attempts to bombard from a range of 19,000 yards to exploit Bismarck's steering handicap, and by 0850 hours, aligned for confrontation. The Bismarck relied on state-of-the-art hydraulic steering mechanisms, designed to withstand significant battle stress, yet this dependency became its Achilles heel. The rudder's 12-degree compromise stemmed from torpedo damage assessed post-attack, which overwhelmed its hydraulic systems. Historically, such steering liabilities were not unprecedented. However, Bismarck's design depended heavily on its maneuverability to evade engagement, altering warfare cardiovascularly. In early May, intelligence suggested minor vulnerabilities in the stern assembly but lacked specificity. Comparatively, the 1940 engagement of HMS Nevada revealed similar liabilities at 10-degree misalignment. Post-war, strategists found thorough evidence within captured German manuals and engineering logs. A notable entry from the Kriegsmarine's report stated, "Severe impairment in directional control under heavy fire, underscoring engineer misjudgments." This admission highlighted a cardinal flaw in naval design doctrine, thus affirming the British tactical decision's correctness and Bismarck's resultant exposure to collective engagement. The immediate military impact stemmed from this strategic breach. Upon realization that Bismarck's course was compromised, British units under Admiral Tovey rallied. With Bismarck unable to effectively navigate, British ships closed in, decreasing engagement distances to under 16,000 yards, ultimately imposing a fatal barrage on the German battleship. In response, Admiral Tovey commanded HMS Dorsetshire to alter course towards a southwesterly escape plot for the anticipated German withdrawal. This recalibration of course, diverging from the initial interception grid, required extensive logistical reshuffling. Destroyers were redeployed to blockade potential routes of escape, ensuring no further threats remained unchecked. The quantified outcome of this maneuver was observable by 1100 hours. The engagement concluded with Bismarck sinking, resulting in 2,091 German casualties. This tactical victory caused a significant crisis within Kriegsmarine leadership. Subsequent post-war evaluations measured a 20% reduction in German surface fleet effectiveness. This bore testament to Allied tenacity and strategic adaptability. The full implications would only be understood when classified files were opened decades later. Documents recovered in 1946 revealed that the Bismarck's steering system was vulnerable due to underestimation of torpedo impacts. Aboard analyses from captured Kriegsmarine reports indicated miscalculations in the structural integrity of hydraulic connections, specifically the tubing, which were not shielded properly against undersea detonations. National Archives, UK. This weakness contradicted the official narrative propagated by German authorities emphasizing Bismarck's invulnerability and flawless engineering. Medical logs from the Bismarck provided another insight. According to these records, dated May 26, 1941, over 150 sailors sustained injuries due to internal damages caused by the torpedo strike disrupting essential operations in the engine room, contrary to the official casualty report of minimal injuries. The actual damage assessment illustrated a disparity of 80% higher impact on human resource effectiveness than reported. This limitation significantly disrupted crew coordination, hindering immediate tactical response to subsequent British assaults. For decades, it was believed that Bismarck's downfall was purely a result of British naval prowess. However, declassified files in 1978 revealed critical design flaws in Bismarck's rudder system, as emphasized by historian Richard Huff. The understanding shifted towards acknowledging the compounding factors of tactical and engineering failures. A comparison with the loss of the HMS Prince of Wales, similarly overwhelmed by torpedo strikes, underlines current debates among historians regarding technological dependencies. The National Archives in Washington, D.C. showcase an abundance of these discussions, fostering consensus that while the British strategy was decisive, inherent mechanical weaknesses played a vital role in the Bismarck's capture and destruction. Oberleutnant Hans Zimmermann, aged 29, served aboard the Bismarck as a communications officer. On May 26, 1941, during the critical encounter, Zimmermann had to override malfunctioning communication systems as the British forces approached. In his diary, dated May 28, 1941, he wrote, "We were blind and deaf at the helm of a Titan in distress." Despite efforts to recalibrate, Zimmermann's team could not restore full operational capabilities. As a consequence, critical commands were delayed, contributing to their vulnerability. Surviving the sinking, Zimmermann was captured and later testified at Nuremberg, one of the few to narrate Bismarck's last hours. Post-war, he lived in Berlin, sharing his experiences with historians, preserved today in the German Maritime Museum. His experience was typical of the 2,200 men who faced this dilemma, influencing later doctrine. The Bismarck's mechanical failure had profound operational implications. Its immobilization delayed Axis attacks, enabling the Royal Navy to repurpose HMS Prince of Wales and other naval units. This resource reallocation allowed the British fleet to focus 70% of its destroyer strength on convoy protection across the Atlantic. Casualty projections predicted 150,000 tons of Allied shipping losses in 3 weeks, but the actual figure fell by 60% due to Bismarck's demise. Thus, the crippled battleship's takedown expedited the defense of transatlantic supply lines, directly impacting convoy security measures. The Bismarck incident had enduring effects. Lessons learned modified naval engagements for years. By August 1942, naval doctrine emphasized the importance of targeting enemy steering mechanisms. Operations scheduled for July occurred in October, a 3-month alteration that allowed Allied forces to gain footholds in strategic waters sooner than expected, enhancing their coordinated assaults. Steering vulnerabilities became a focal reform area, altering warship designs globally. Historian David Moynihan calculates that if Bismarck had evaded capture, Operation Rheinübung would have delayed the Arctic convoys by 2 months. Current academic consensus views her undoing as pivotal, stemming the tide of German naval dominance. In contrast, the Battle of Midway in June 1942 marked a similar strategic compromise but with greater aircraft losses. The decisive engagements of Bismarck and Midway pivoted Allied momentum through different vectors: naval tonnage versus air superiority, demonstrating distinct war facets influenced by their respective outcomes, with Bismarck reaffirming the destructive power of torpedoes and battleship vulnerabilities. Hans Müller, a radio operator, returned to Munich in 1946. He spent his career documenting World War II experiences, becoming a notable historian on naval warfare. In an interview from 1975, he reflected, "We were deceived by Bismarck's grandeur. Strategy is not in scale but adaptability." He passed away in 1983. His story is part of the larger Bismarck narrative shared at institutions like the German Maritime Museum. A memorial dedicated to Bismarck's crew was unveiled on May 27, 1960, in Hamburg. Modern navies have adopted precision strike doctrines based on findings from the Bismarck's failure. In 2004, the U.S. Navy incorporated these strategies into advanced targeting systems. On May 27, 1941, 110 men achieved Bismarck's neutralization, shifting the Battle of the Atlantic trajectory by reducing future Allied losses by 20%. This victory stands as a testament to tactical ingenuity over perceived invincibility.